3 Shabbos Kuf Nun Gimel. Rav Yehuda Breder Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas Mishmei Rav. Mehespeno Shel Adam, from a person's eulogy, Nikar in Ben Aholam Habahu Imla. We can detect if he's somebody's going to go to Olam Haba. If people cry and people tell his praises, then he's going to be a Ben Olam Haba. More says, it's not so. Varmale Rav Shmuel Bar Shilas. Rav asked Rav Shmuel, Achem behespeda, try to really work the crowd up when you maspid me. Dehasam come in, because I'm going to be there listening. So why was Rav concerned that he had to have a good eulogy so that people would cry? I mean, he's a big tzaddik. It should happen automatically, based on what the Gemara said. So, lo kasha depends. Meaning, if somebody is a righteous person, and at his hesped, when they give a good hesped and people cry, then that's a siman that the person is destined for olam haba. On the other hand, if the eulogy is given and really nobody is affected by it, that's a siman that he's not a ben olam haba. Normally, Abai Rabba. Abai said to his uncle Rabba, Kagon Mar. Now you, Rabba, the son of Leikula b'Pumpadisa, all the people in Pumpadisa hate you because he was the more the Asra there, and he was very stern, giving tochacha to the people in Pumpadisa. Man achem espedo, who will be good enough to give? Who will you find to be maspid you? Omerlei, mistaya at the Rabbi Baruch, you, my nephew Abaya, and Rabbi Baruch Hanan, they would be good candidates to give my hesped. Boy, Rabbi Lezer Rav. Rabbi Lezer asked Rav, Ezel ben Olam Haba, who is someone who's going to go to Olam Haba? Omer lei, v'oznecha tishmana davar macharecha lemor, ze haderech l'chubo ki taminu v'chi tashmilu. If they say about a person, listen, you should follow his life. What he did, you should do. That's a person who's a ben olam haba. Rav Chanina Amar kol shadas Rabbi Seinu nochemen. If a person's teachers are happy with the person's life, not his family and not his friends, but his rebellion, that's a siman that he went on the proper derech. V'savavu bashuk hasoftim, the eulogizers will be wandering around in the market. B'nei Galila Amri aseh dvarim lifnei mitasecha. You should speak in front of the coffin. In Galil, B'nei Yehuda Amri aseh dvarim la'achar mitasecha. You should speak behind the coffin. V'lo pligi Mark Yatsrei. Each minhag was different. In the Galil, the eulogizers stood in front of the coffin. In Yehuda, they stood behind the coffin. Tanan Osir, Eliezer Oimer. Shuv yomecha lifnei misascha. You should always do tshuva the day before you die. Now, a person doesn't know the day he's going to die. So he has to do tshuva every day, because he could die tomorrow. Shalom Tamidas Rabbi Eliezer v'chiyadim yodei is a yom yamus. How Rabbi Eliezer are people going to fulfill this? Nobody knows when he's going to die. That's what he meant. People should do tshuva every day. The nimsa kol yom of the tshuva, and his whole life will be spent doing tshuva. Av Shlomo Amar v'chachmaso, v'chol eis yu v'gadecha levanim. Your clothing should always be white. V'shemen al roshcha al yechsar. You should always have oil in your hair. This is simonim that you should always be doing tshuva. Amr Rav Yochanan ben Zakkai, Marshal Melech, Shaziminus Avodav L'Seuda. It's like a king who invited his servants to a feast. V'lo man, he didn't set the time for the feast. Pikin Shebahen, the smart ones, Kishtu Esatzman, they got dressed up. The Yoshua Pesach Beis HaMelech, they were waiting at the door of the palace, in line. Amru Klum Chosel Beis HaMelech. They said, listen, the palace has everything. They can prepare a feast on moment's notice. So we should wait here. Tipshin Shebahem, the fools, Halchul Lachton. They did their regular work. Amru, they said, Klum Yesh Su'uda B'lo Torach. Listen, every Suda takes time to prepare. We'll have time once they announce the Suda to go home, change our clothing, and come back for the Suda. Pitom Bikesh HaMelech Zavoda. However, the smart people were correct that the palace doesn't take time to make a feast. So they invited everybody very quickly. So the smart people had already gotten dressed up. They came into the feast dressed to the nines. The foolish Avadim had to go to the Suda directly from their job, and they were working dirty. They were wearing dirty clothing. The king was happy to see the smart servants. The costly Tipshim, he was upset with the foolish ones. Omar, those that got dressed up for the feast, will be allowed to continue to sit and eat and drink. Those that did not get dressed up, they can only stand and watch. And this is the Mashal and the Nimshal is Olam Haba, that Tzaddikim will sit and eat, and the Rishonim will just watch. That's not a punishment enough for the Rishonim, that they're standing around and looking, because people could confuse them. Maybe they're like the servants, because waiters like waiters. And even being a waiter at such a feast is already a little bit of an honor. Rather, says the Gemara, Elu ve'elu yoshvin. Both are sitting. Halalu ochlin, the smart ones or the tzaddikim eat. V'halalu re'evin, the Rishonim remain hungry. Halalu shosim, halalu tzmeim. The tzaddikim drink. The Rishonim remain thirsty. Shneamar, Kormar Hashem inei avodah yochelu. My servants will eat. Vatem tiravu, you sinners will go hungry. Hine avodah yishtu vatem timtzo titzmo. You, my servants will drink, and the Rishonim will be thirsty. Hine avodah yaroni mituv leiv. Those that serve me will be happy from everything good that happens to them. Vatem titzoku mikev leiv. You will cry out because of a painful heart. We quoted from Shlomo Melech that your clothing should always be white, which was a reference to having a clean neshama, because you're always doing tshuva. Gemara says Elu tzitzis. Tzitzis are also white, right? Because they didn't have tchelis. Only recently do we have tchelis, but for thousands of years they didn't have tchelis. So the Lavonim refers to tzitzis. Shemen al roshcha ayetzer elu tefillin. It's a remez for tefillin, because tov shemi shemen tov, and it says v'ra'u kol amei haaretz ki shem Hashem nikra alecha, because the Shem Hashem is nechkak in the tefillin. So the remez shem from shemen. Hanalach shoel, hanalach shoel, hanalach shoel. The final perek of Masechta Shabbos, Perek Esrim V'Arba, the 24th Perek. Mi Shehechshech, Kuf Nun Gimel Amid Aleph, the new Perek. Mi Shehechshech Baderech, person's late Friday afternoon, and Shabbos is arriving soon, and he has his wallet with money. Noisen Kisel Nochri. You can give it to a Gentile who's walking with him, and he can bring it into the city, and you'll meet up with him later on to get it back from him. You can't tell a non-Jew to do something that you can't do. How does this work? Then it says, V'me'enimo nochri, if there is no Gentile, me'nicho ala chamor. If there's a donkey with you, you can put it on the chamor, and the chamor brings it in. Now, you are required that your chamor can't work. How can you allow your chamor to do it? So that's question number 2 we'll have to deal with. Now, if you put it on the chamor, once you get into the city to a chutzner where you can unload, so those things that are on the donkey's back that are not muktzah, you can remove by hand. Because tzar balei chayim, you can't let the animal have these things on his back the whole Shabbos. V'she'eni tolim b'Shabbos, those things that are muktzah. So matir achavolim, you undo the ropes that are holding the load on the camel. V'asakin noiflu meilein, you don't touch them directly. Everything falls off the donkey by itself, and therefore you don't violate muktzah. Freik the Gemara, my time is surely Rabbon Lameis of Kisei Lenochri. How could the Chachamim permit you to tell the goy or to give the goy the purse? You're not allowed. Amir la'akum is not permitted. Can't have a non-Jew do something for you that you can't do on Shabbos. Can't even tell him to do something. And for the Gemara, Kimul Rabbanon De'inodam Mami B'Natso Mamoinoi Eina Chanami, the restriction of Amir la'akum is only rabbinic. In this case, the rabbis lifted their general prohibition of Amir L'Nochri because Ilo Sharis Slay, if you didn't permit it, a person with his money has a very strange relationship. And people will just carry it home in Rosh Hashanah. So they removed the restriction of Amir L'Nochri in this particular instance. Omer Rava Davka Kiso. But that's only your wallet with money. Avo Metzia Lo. So let's say you found a lost object on the street and you picked it up and it's yours. That you cannot give to the Gentile. Freik the Gemara Pshita. Kiso Tnan. Mishnah said your wallet. Madasema who adina filo Metzia. Listen. When you pick something up, it also belongs to you. So it means any of your assets, I would have thought. The fact that the Mishnah used the language your wallet, because that's normally what people have, but it could mean any. I might think that any asset that you're carrying, even something you just found, you might be able to give to the Goy Kamash Bala. However, lo amor ela de lo asil yodeh. That's something that you found on Shabbos. If you already found it Erev Shabbos, if you found something Friday afternoon, now it's yours, you can give that to the Gentile as well.
So, Ernie, if a person finds a gold bar as a Metzia,
yes,
gold coin,
yes,
you can't give that to Nechri?
You can if you found it Friday afternoon.
But not on Shabbos.
Correct.
Kenny, that's called the golden rule.
I know, but I would say that a person, just like he's going to walk Dalit Amos with his wallet, with his keys.
So let's see the Ikad.
Person finds a diamond ring.
So if you found it on Friday, you can it's treated like your asset. But if you found it on Shabbos, no. So the law
Yeah, you can give it to your donkey.
I'm reading Rashi. The law the mitzvah lo ela de law siliyade kodem sheteksha. When we say you can't do it, that's as long as you didn't find it from Friday. The law be able to zochlo. But if you found it Friday, then it's like your regular asset. So ikadi amri boy rava mitzia bo liyodo ma. What about he found a mitzia? Do we say kivan das liyode kikisudami? Since it's in his possession, it's like his money. O dilma kivan deloy torach bo. Listen, Kenny, they developed a psychology here. When you work hard for your money, so people are really attached to their money. But this came very easy. You just found it in the street. So you're not that attached to it. So therefore, it's a different psychology the Gemara is going through here.
Maybe. I hear. Person finds a lottery ticket. Person finds a lottery ticket that's worth millions of dollars. I don't know.
In a chanami. According to Chazal, if you just find something and you didn't work really hard for it, you wouldn't have the same attachment to that money as if you worked for it. And then, if you worked for it, then you would schlep it home. We'd be worried you're going to carry it down Amis. By a mitzvah, they're not worried that you're going to do that. That's the way to learn. Now, how does the Gemara paskin teku? And the Shulchan Aruch, interestingly, paskins leniently. So the Steinsaltz brings, but I saw I saw that we're lenient regarding this. The Maisa. Regarding a mitzvah. Like the first, not like the first lashon, like the second lashon. Okay, so here they bring down that you're not allowed to, but I saw a psak halacha that you're allowed to. So let's bring that back tomorrow night. Remind me tomorrow night that I'm going to look that up regarding that issue. But it's beferish from the Gemara that it's treated differently because of this concept, de lo torach ba. So if you found a lottery ticket or a diamond ring, it's different than money that you work for. Weiter. Ein imo nachri. What if there's no Gentile with you? So we say you give it to a donkey, but l'chora, it's preferable to give it to a Gentile than your donkey. Right? Time of the ein imo nachri. That means the Mishnah said, "Ein imo nachri, give him to a donkey," implying ha yesh imo nachri l'nachri yoev lei. So it seems from the Mishnah that if you have a choice between giving it to the Gentile, to your donkey, give it to the Gentile. My timer. Chamor ata mitzuva al shvisoso. Because we lamed the last week. Behem techa shorcha, right? By Melecha Shabbos, you are required to have your animals rest as well. There is no mitzvah of Shabbos for a nochri, right? Chamor ata mitzuva al shvisoso. Nochri ata mitzuva al shvisoso. So that's why it's preferable to give it to a Gentile. Okay. So now, yes.
What if the Gentile is your Eved?
Say it again.
Can you, if you're
no an Eved, an Eved Knani that lives in your house. You also cannot make him work on Shabbos.
Oh, that's what I want to know. Okay.
Yes, you wouldn't be able to give it to an Eved either.
Okay.
That would be like giving it to another Jew, which you're not allowed to do.
Okay.
He's not a full-fledged Jew, but he keeps mitzvahs like an Isha. And an Isha is mechuyev in all the lavim, right? An Eved Knani was potter mitzvahs asesha azman grama like a woman. But women are mechayev in all the lavim. So an Eved Knani is mechayev in all the lavim.
All right. Okay.
So therefore you wouldn't be able to, he couldn't do any work for you on Shabbos. It says Avdecha v'Amasecha, that refers to Eved Knani. It doesn't refer to an Eved Ivri. Eved Ivri is a Jew.
Yes.
He's a full-fledged Jew. So, okay. So the Gemara now develops a hierarchy like this. Chamor, cheresh, shoyte, v'kot. Right? A cheresh is a deaf mute. A shoyte is a meshigana. A cotton is a minor. Now, all of these share lack of das. They're not a bar das. Rashi says a shoyte is worse than a cheresh. That a shoyte doesn't have das klal. A cheresh, daisa klishna islay. He has a little bit of das. So therefore, if you have a choice between a chamor, cheresh, shoyte, you should rather put it on the donkey. And lecheresh shoyte v'kot loyvlay, don't give it to the cheresh shoyte v'kot. My time, ahani adam, these are people. And even though lechura, right, they're not a bardas, you'd rather give it to someone who's not a person. High lavod. Even though they're not mechuyev in mitzvahs. Frag the Gemara. Cheresh v'shoyte. You have a choice between the deaf mute and the meshigana. So give it l'shoyte, because Rashi explained, because a shoyte is worse off. He has no das. Cheresh has a little bit more das than a shoyte. Shoyte v'cotton, give it to the shoyte. Because the cotton is eventually going to grow up and be mechuyev in mitzvahs. Now, what about cheresh v'cotton? My. Because a cheresh is better off than a shoyte, and a cotton is better off than a shoyte. So, in the battle between cheresh and cotton, who wins? So, Alibad Rabbi Yezer lo teboilcha. According to Rabbi Yezer, there's no shy. At the time of Yitzchak Kohen Rabbi Yezer, Trumas cheresh lo seitze lechulin. If a cheresh tries to separate truma, it doesn't go out l'chulin. They should suffix. It's a suffix if he has enough das to make it truma. He cannot give it. The coin can't eat it as truma, but it's not l'chulin either. And therefore, according to Eliezer, there's a suffix that his truma is a truma. A cotton is not bar mitzvah, and a cotton, if he's mafresh truma, doesn't create anything. So according to Eliezer, you would give it to a cotton, not to a cheresh, because a cheresh has more halachic standing. But ki teboil chalibid rabbanon. But the chachamim, it's not so poshut. It's not. Chamisha lo yisramu. 5 people shouldn't separate truma. Vim tarmu ein trumas and truma. Elu ein cheresh shoyte v'cotton. So according to Chachamim, a cheresh and a cotton are in the same boat. So we have no answer according to Chachamim. That's also if you separate truma that's not that the produce doesn't belong to you, or v'nochri shetarmas shli Yisrael. A goy gives truma of that what belongs to a Jew. Afilu b'rshuso ain't truma so truma. So according to Chachamim, if the battle between a cheresh and a cotton, who wins? My. Do we say lecheresh yav lady cotton nasi leklav das? Maybe we give it to a cheresh because a cotton eventually is going to come into das. Or idilma lekotton yav lady cheresh asi lachluth begadol pikat. Maybe there's a marasayin problem. If you give it to the cheresh, who's an adult, people will make a mistake if they can give it to any adult. But ikediami lecheresh yav lay, ikediami lekotton yav lay, and therefore I think the psak is you can give it to whoever you want. I think you can give it to either a cheresh or a cotton. The Shulchan Aruch says, "Lemisha yirtze yitein." Shabai lo nifter begemara, upasko berif varosh ef shalasus be'ez shita shirotze. So the Rif and Rosh say you can do it whatever you want. Weiter. Ein sham loy nochri v'lo chomer v'lo cheresh v'lo shatan v'lo. Let's say there's nobody there. What do? My. On Rav Yitzchak Orach Eretz Haisa. There is another Eitzah, but lo ratzu chachamim legaloisa. The chacham didn't want to reveal it publicly. So my Orach Eretz Haisa. What do we mean? There was another. Molicho pachos pachos me'arba amas. We know that you're oiver for carrying trisarabim if you carry more than arba amos at a time. However, if you walk 3 amos and stop, so you didn't carry, and you do it again, 3 amos and stop. So the Gemara seems to be saying that if you don't have a goy or chamor or cheresh or cotton, you can carry it back into the city going pachos midalad amos. And that's the halacha. Mi shekidish alav leil Shabbos bedarko v'hay imo kesef muter alatatlo b'chopam yelech pachos marba amos v'yeshiv yam shalechus ba'ofen zeh uki gemara. So the chachamim kept this on the down low, but that's the halacha. Amayla rotzu chacham lagalois mishum kvod elokim haster davar ukvod melachim chakor davar. That means for the honor of Hashem you can hide things. Because if they came out publicly and said you can do pachas, people are going to end up carrying arba amos. They're going to violate Torah minat, violate the Doraisa. Tanya Rabbi Yezer Oimer, Bo Bayom Godshu Sa'ah. This day, where they gave the heter that you could give it to a Nachri, was the day when they went into the attic of Hanani ben Chizkiah, and they were goyzer 18 gzeros. There were more Beis Shammai nicks than Beis Hillel nicks. They voted. This was one of them. No saying kisel and Nachri bo bayom gozru. That if you have a goy, better to give it to a goy than walk at pachas ma'arba amos if there's a goy. That day they made a lot of siyagim l'toira. And that's why the Gemara says here, Rabbi Yezer, God shu, so they made a heaping measure. They made a lot of gezeros. Rabbi Yeshua Amir Bava Yom Machkusa. He says it was a bad thing. They flattened the heaping measure. There were so many gzeros, too much, and the people couldn't stand by the gzeros, and they started being over even divrei Torah. So he felt it was a bad thing that they did that day. There are shitas that hold that Bo Bayom also, it was the same day that Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was appointed the Nasi. Remember, Harei Kiven Shivim Shana, there was a battle between Rabbi Yeshua and Rabbi Gamliel. Right, Rabbi Gamliel made Rabbi Yeshua stand on his come to his place on Yom Kippur. So, Chazal there. That Bo Bayom also refers to that day.
So that means that Rabbi Gamliel, who was the head of the yeshiva in that Maisa of when Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah was appointed, that means he was a Beis Shammai?
No. We're going to see the Gemara later on that there was a debate whether Sefer Yechezkel should be included in the canon. So this Rav Chanina ben Chizkiah, Chas v'Shalom, of course it should. He said he took up 300 barrels of wine or oil. He went up to the attic. He wasn't going to come down until he showed why Sefer Yechezkel has to be included in the canon. On one of those days when he was up there, a whole bunch of Talmidei Chachamim visited him, and they did a quick count. And in that attic, on that day, there were more Beis Shammai than Beis Hillel. And they quickly passed 18 gezeros that were pretty much the opinions of Beis Shammai, as opposed to Beis Hillel, because It was just on that day there was a unique thing in that attic. Rabbi Gamliel was not there. Rabbi Yeshua was there. There were others there, but not them. I've seen in other Rishonim that when this so Bo Bayom is very oftentimes referred to this event in the attic. That's clearly what Rashi says here. I just threw out as well that I've seen other places where Bo Bayom refers to that day where they appointed Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah the Nasi in the battle between Rabbi Gamliel. I'm not saying they happened all on the same day. Could be that there's two Bo Bayoms. Bo Bayom, the day that Rabbi Elazar was there. Some people say it all happened on the same day. But Rabbi Gamliel was not present in the attic there. I don't think so. Nor was Rabbi Yeshua. Yeah, Tosfos doesn't bring it either here. But we'll have it in another Gemara. Here the Bo Bayom clearly refers to the event of the attic where they passed 18 Gzeras Lefi Beis Shammai. And this was one of them. The fact that you could go Pakus Midal Amis Meikra Din, but they said if you have a Gentile, give it to a Gentile instead. That was the Gzeira. Tanya Marshal Rabbi Eliezer L'madav Adoyme, that it was a good thing. L'kupam le'ah kishum ediluim. You have a basket full of cucumbers. Adam nois l'soicha chardli. You fill it up with mustard seeds, and now the cucumbers don't move around because it's been the spaces in between the cucumbers have been filled with seeds to hold it better. So when you transport it, the cucumbers don't get bumped around. So having a lot of gzeris is a good thing. To a bowl full of honey. If you throw pomegranate and walnuts, it overflows the pot, and you lose honey. So that's the difference between Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbi Yeshua, whether it was a good thing or a bad thing. Omar Mar. If we said there's no Gentile, manicha l'chamor. You put it on the chamor. Freik the Gemara v'alo mechamer. Well, you're now having the donkey do work for you. If you, for example, load up a donkey with load and you lead it on Shabbos, that's the law of Machamer. You're not allowed. So how can you do that here as well? Rachman Amar Lo Yisasa Kom Locha. Ato Vincho Vehemtecha. Amar Rav Barava Manicha Lekeshim Alechas. So just like when we carry something, Dalad Amos Bushas Arabah, we have to start from rest. You have to have an akira, right? You have to move from rest, and then you have to come to a stop. You have to have anacha. So by an animal, it's the same thing. That means if you started an animal from stop position, loaded him, and started him walking more than Dalad Amos, then you'd be over. Here the Gemara is saying you should put the wallet on the back of the chamor while the chamor is walking. So the chamor is not starting from a stop position. Fred the Gemara vayefshel lo yikaim lahashtin mayim lato glolim. Yeah, but the chamor is going to come to stop to go to the bathroom, and then he's going to start up again. So he's going to have akir and anocha, v'ikakir v'anocha. So the Gemara answers, yeah, you have to be very sharp. Kishim alechas manicho aleha. You put it on him while he's walking. Kishiomedes, right before he comes to a stop. Notlan, you got to take it off of him real quick. The Rajba says it will work because you'll only have half. You'll either have half, akira anacha, and that'll work. The other Rishonim says, no, you have to do it this way as well. So, freak the Gemara. Well, if you can put it on the back of a donkey, why can't you put it on the back of another Jew? Remember, we learned that if two people do a malacha, you're not chayiv. Amar of Papa, Kol shebegufa chayiv chatis. If you do something that would get you a chatis, bechaveru potra v'loser. So by having your friend do it with you, it's potter, but it's not permitted. Kol shechaveru potra v'loser. If a friend does something and it's potter, then bechamora mutar lechatchila. So since it's only potra v'loser when you have your friend do it, because you and a friend, let's say, you do a malacha together, you don't get a chatas. Neither of you get a chatas, but it's not permitted. But then anything that if you do with a friend is potter by a chamor is mutar lechatchila. They give you another answer. We're talking about you're walking Erev Shabbos, and you've got something on you got a backpack on your back, and all of a sudden you realize it's coming Shabbos. So what he tells you to do is run to your home and don't stop. And there won't be an akira and anocha. You'll only have an anocha at the end of your house. You won't have an akira and anocha. Right? Rashi says, "Mibod yom, mikiddush la yom, ratz tachteh b'chol kama d'lo amad lafush, ein kan akira li'isser." Dafka ratz. You got to run. Of a koli lo, but walking, no. My time. Kivan de les lehekera. He's not going to have a hecker that he's doing anything different. Also, maybe an akira v'anocha. He'll come to make an akira v'anocha. He'll be oiver. Freiti gemor sof kimat l'beisli after l'koi puerta. But when the guy who runs, when he gets to his house, he has to come to a stop to get the thing off of his back. So the Gemara says, right, the Kamayel Mishusarayim Mishusayachid. Gemara says, the Zorek like Lachiyat. You sort of, as you're running, take it off and you sort of throw it with a shinui into your house. So you've avoided any kind of Isra Min Torah, and because of Mamoin, the Chachamim lifted these rabbinic Zeiris. So and the Shulchan Aruch says you're allowed to run, as long as when you get to your house, you throw it in a way that's different. You do it like with the back of your hand. So you didn't do a mamish hanacha b'rshus hayachid in the classic way. Amar Rabbi Bar Chama. Hamachamer achar behemto b'Shabbos. If someone is leading his animal on Shabbos to do work, b'shogeg chayiv chatas, b'mezid chayiv skila. My time. Amar Rav Amar Kro. Lo sa'aseh kom lacha ata uvehemtech. Behemto tu mididei. Rabbi Bar Chama is learning. Behem is like you. Mahu b'shogeg chayiv chatas, b'mezid chayiv skila. Af behemto nami b'shogeg chayiv chatas, b'mezid chayiv skila. Amar Rav says absolutely not. Shtei tshuvas b'dor chada. Dichsiv Torah akas yelachem lo sebishka gava nefesh asher taseh biyad ramah. Huksha kol haTorah kol avodah zarah. This pasuk is by avodah zarah. Ma avodah zarah do ovid ma'isa begufe. When you're violating avodah zarah, you do a ma'isa with your body. Achanami ad david ma'isa begufe. With the law of machamer, you can call the animal to come to you with dibur. Dibur is not a ma'isa, so that malacha cannot chayiv you skila because it doesn't fulfill the criteria like avodah zarah that you're doing a ma'isa begufo, because speech is not considered a ma'isa. The otnan, and I'll give you another proof. Anything that if you do it b'shogeg, you bring a chatas. If you do it b'mez, you get skila. Michlal, the ikemidi the ein chayav l'shigos chatas falls don skila. Means there's a thing that does not give you skila if you do it b'mezi, or a chatas when you do it b'shogeg. Umaihi lav de machamer. The Gemara wants to say this lav of machamer is an exclusion to this normal rule. Or says no. Tchumin v'alibid Rabbi Kiva. What is being excluded from skila and from a chatas is the lav of walking more than 2,000 amas on Shabbos. Who there's a machlokes between Rabbi Kiva and the Chachamim. The Chachamim hold that the laws of Tchumim are all rabbinic, not midaraisa. Rabbi Kiva holds that the laws of Tchumim are midaraisa. But even Rabbi Kiva admits that even though it's midaraisa, you don't bring a chatas for violating it b'shogeg, and you certainly do not get skila for doing it b'mezid. And the other exception is havara alibid Rabbi Yossi. Lighting a fire, according to Rabbi Yossi, there's no chiyuv skila because it says is it lachal? Is it lelav yatzas or lechalek yatzas? The fact that havara, there was a special pasuk. It already says lo sasek kamlacha. Then it brought me a pasuk. Lo savaru esh b'chol moshel sechem. Why did you have to bring it out? So there's a machlokes. Is it lelav yatzas? Maybe it was to tell me that all the other malachas, the 39 malachas, you get skila for, and you bring a chatas for, except for this one. But and that's Rabbi Yossi. But the Chachamim who argue with Rabbi Yossi say no. The reason that was is lachalek, to tell you that just like if I did this one, with a period of forgetfulness, I bring a chatas, so too if I do all 39 malachos in one period of forgetfulness, I bring 39 different. So there's a machlokes how to learn the fact that Havara was treated differently. Rabbi Yossi says it's a lav, but it's a lav that doesn't give you skila or chatas. So it's either Rabbi Kiva by Tchumin or Rabbi Yossi regarding Havara. And we'll see in a minute the lav of machamer. We'll learn that halacha tomorrow. We'll leave everybody in suspense until we learn that tomorrow.
What time tomorrow?